It's the third leg of our campervan road trip across New Zealand. We have made it from the very top of the country in the North Island to right here in Christchurch, and our JUCY Lucy is still treating us well. If we need to use the oven, we'll cook inside the campsite kitchen, but mostly everything we can cook right here on the hob in our van, and we do.
My little kitchen, it's all going off in here.
I definitely thought we would have a bit of cabin fever by now, but we are absolutely loving the van life. I think my favourite thing about being in a JUCY camper is that when you pass another JUCY along the road, they will be flashing their lights and sounding the horn and waving. There's a real camaraderie of couples and groups and families that are all having the same experience, but each one is unique. We still have 2 weeks left, but I know that I'm going to be really sad to leave the JUCY camper behind. A lot of people told us we had to experience Arthur's Pass. This is a mountain pass that takes you from the Christchurch area in the Canterbury region to the west coast of the South Island through the Southern Alps. There are two ways to go through, the Great Alpine Highway 73, or for something a bit different, you can go by train on the Trans Alpine Railway. As you can see, the weather in New Zealand has turned a little bit rainy and a little bit cold, but it's okay because we're going on the Trans Alpine Express train today, right up to through Arthur's Pass. That's the horn, so we need to get right on now.
Run.
As soon as we set off, the weather cleared up and the views from the train were sensational. A lot of people come up to Arthur's Pass to hike or go camping, but we really didn't have the time on this trip, so taking the train meant that we could see the stunning landscape in one day and be back to our van by nightfall. If you have been following our around the world trip, then you will know that we started in India and visited Sri Lanka, Indonesia and Australia. Our 23rd day in New Zealand marked the day that we had officially been around the world in 80 days, which was pretty cool. We took a last minute detour heading northwest, deciding to park up for the night at Lake Tekapo. The view through the window of our van today is so nice, look at this. This is Lake Tekapo. And I couldn't think of a nicer place to camp, to be honest. It's so beautiful. Waking up here is the ultimate good morning. Our little juice box here. What an amazing place to camp. So the campsite here behind us, and then right across the lake here. You don't get any better accommodation than that. It was one of the points on the trip where we were really conscious of taking a step back and really absorbing our surroundings. The lake sits in the Mackenzie Basin, which is framed by the Southern Alps. It's a UNESCO Dark Sky Reserve, the only one of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere. I strongly recommend you book ahead for a night of stargazing at the Mount John Observatory. Because we had decided to come here at the last minute, we did not do this, and because the beautiful clear skies, it meant that all the spots were fully booked. I was really gutted when I found out that we weren't going to be able to do this. But being a dark sky reserve, there is very limited light pollution in the whole area. So we packed up some wine, put a star-themed playlist on Spotify, and went star spotting from our van. We got a little bit tipsy, and it ended up being one of the best nights of our trip.
You will be my lucky star, 'cause you shine on me wherever you are.
There's a star man waiting in the sky. He wants to come around.
Forget about mine.
The next drive was only an hour, and we were in the shadow of Mount Cook, New Zealand's tallest mountain. Glacier hiking in New Zealand is probably most popular on the Franz Josef Glacier on the west coast. But we had heard that hiking the glacier at Mount Cook was less crowded, cheaper and just as spectacular, so we did just that. Before joining a hike, we got our first ever ride in a ski plane flying over the glacier. It was a chance to get a look at exactly what we were dealing with. Thick snow, ice, blue skies and stunning from every angle. Mount Cook seaplanes actually land on the top of the mountain, and we were lucky enough to get a private flight, so we were the only ones up there. Later that day, we took on the heli hike itself, flying halfway back up the glacier in a helicopter and hiking back down with an expert guide. It was wicked. I came to New Zealand to really embrace the landscape and the natural wonders, and it just doesn't get better than this. This is one of the best things I've ever done in my life. It was hard to top that, but a stop at the Remarkables, the mountain range at Tianau, a scenic drive past the Mirror Lakes and through the Fjordlands came pretty close. We are on route to Milford Sound, and I had to get ready in a rush because I really wanted to lay in, and Henry said we had to get on the road. So I'm in the car and I'm eating my all bran yogurt. When we get there, we're going to be getting on a boat and sailing around all the fjords. You may have noticed that we didn't go to Hobbiton on our New Zealand adventure. To be honest, we're not the biggest Lord of the Rings fans and it didn't really appeal, but one location that was showcased in the Lord of the Rings films is Glenorchy. I love horse riding and I will always try and find somewhere to ride wherever I am in the world. The Ride of the Rings tour is a wild hack across one of New Zealand's 3 World Heritage areas. When you are galloping through a glacier river with the wind in your face, surrounded by the most beautiful landscape, it's one of the rare cases where something literally takes your breath away. Without a doubt, New Zealand is the most beautiful place I've ever travelled to. It's just, it's almost ridiculous. Justice to this trip and to go out on a high, we had to conclude our New Zealand adventure in what's sometimes known as the capital of fun, Queenstown. We opted for a surprisingly thrilling speed jet boat trip, basically doing 360-degree turns and speeds of 95 miles per hour. Bungee jumping wasn't on the agenda, but we did undertake the world's steepest zip line, which is in the forest canopy that overlooks Queenstown. Woohoo! Queenstown is just one big party and we were gutted to leave. We had one last night to hit the town in New Zealand, sample the famous Ferg burger and pack up our van ready for our next adventure in the USA.